Giannis Antetokounmpo is undoubtedly one of the most dominant players that we have in the NBA right now, but he has one massive flaw, and that is his free throw shooting. But it's not just his free throw shooting. There are plenty of players throughout the history of the league that have been dominant and haven't been 70, 75% free throw shooters even. But Giannis takes too long to shoot free throws, and in this game against Denver, actually gets caught. Now, I'm not going to turn this video into like an officiating referee kind of thing. Maybe I'll do one of those in the future, but here's basically what's happening. Every time a player goes to the free throw line, when they get the ball, they have 10 seconds to shoot the free throw. And essentially, this is just a logistical rule. It's supposed to be so that guys don't sit there for 20 seconds and catch their breath and use the free throw line as like a rest period. Supposed to get the ball, shoot it. 10 seconds is plenty of time. And what's supposed to happen every time someone shoots a free throw is there's supposed to be a count by one of the refs in the backcourt. They're not supposed to wave their arm back and forth for the 5-second count like they do in an inbounds pass, but with their hand, kind of subtly, they're supposed to count to 10. And if it takes longer than 10 seconds, shoot the free throw the way that it does all the time for Giannis, it is not supposed to count. And this has created this big controversy because you are on one side or the other of this. Either you think it's an issue and something that should get called all the time, or you just don't. But going back to this Nuggets game briefly, this became a little bit obnoxious, I'll be honest. Giannis was taking between 12 to 14 seconds every single time he went to the free throw line. And I know this because, again, kind of obnoxiously, the Nuggets broadcast not only was counting out loud during his free throws, but also they had a stopwatch on his free throws to see how long he was taking, and regularly we were getting to 12 and 13 seconds from the time that he touched the ball to when he released it. Now, on one hand, we could definitely have a conversation about the broadcast team maybe being a little bit more professional than that and not counting out loud during his free throw attempts, but also this was a Nuggets home game and the crowd was counting for him anyway. And personally, I thought that was a little bit obnoxious and unnecessary by the broadcast team, but regardless, there are two different sides to this. Either Giannis is actively getting away with breaking a rule every single game. He goes to the free throw line almost as much as anybody in the league over the last handful of seasons, and every single time that he goes, he is breaking a rule. There's a rule in place to make sure that you don't get more than 10 seconds. There's a reason for the rule. It's to speed up the game and to make sure that you're not actively resting while you're at the free throw line, and he is breaking that rule. And technically, every single free throw, almost without fail, that Giannis has taken this season was illegal and should not have counted. But obviously, it doesn't get called very often. Last night is one of the few times that it actually got called. It got called a few times in some past Milwaukee playoff runs. It actually caused Giannis to briefly speed up his free throw routine, and then he actually shot better from the free throw line. I don't know why he went back to taking 12 seconds. I also don't know why he needs 12 seconds every single time he shoots a free throw. I understand that he has a process and a routine, and that's how free throws work, but it's at a certain point, you'd think he could spend part of the summer practicing, take one dribble, shoot the ball, and it wouldn't be that difficult to change up his routine. But clearly he wants to stick to this, and he shows no signs of changing it at all. So that's one side, is Giannis is actively breaking a rule every single game. The other side is, what's the difference on the impact of the game if Giannis shoots the free throw in 9 seconds or if Giannis shoots the free throw in 12 seconds? The thing that's most important here is whether Giannis makes the free throw. That's the actual basketball part of this, right? That's the thing that's actually impactful. The extra 2 seconds every time he shoots a free throw has almost no impact on the game whatsoever, unless you're trying to argue that that is extra rest for Giannis, or of course he would shoot better because he gets the extra 2 seconds, which I find hard to believe, and actually he shot better when he actually took less time at the free throw line rather than more. And so using this obscure rule to limit his ability to actually make free throws seems unnecessary. Those are the two sides of the argument. My personal opinion is, if you are someone that thinks that this is a rule that should be enforced every single time, then you're asking for two things. One, you're asking for these officials to count on every single free throw attempt, because I'm sure there are other guys that get pretty close to the 10-second count. And so refs are going to count on every single one. They're supposed to, by the way, and they never do. Giannis is like the only guy that they ever count for, and they only start counting for it if teams actually complain about it enough. So you're asking for them to have to count on every single guy, and there might be a player or two on your team that actually takes a long time to shoot free throws as well. Then it becomes this entire slippery slope issue. And the other part of this, more importantly, is you're asking for stricter rule enforcement on rules in the NBA that are broken all the time. This is not the only rule that guys break all the time. Guys get away with travels, carries, all that stuff. But also as it relates to free throws, there is a lane violation on like 75% of free throws in the NBA. Guys are going inside the arc before the ball's even released. Guys are stepping in the lane before the ball's even released. The free throw shooter is leaving the line before it touches the rim. So if you're one of those people, I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you're one of those people that is asking for Giannis to get called for 10-second violations, then you're asking for lane violations to be called every time. You're asking for carries, travels, all that stuff. You can't be selective. And you're also asking officials to actively enforce a rule with their procedures and their process that they're just not enforcing right now. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not even necessarily saying what side of this argument I'm on. It's just that's where you have to be. If you are team, let's make sure that Giannis shoots the ball in under 10 seconds, otherwise the free throws don't count, then you are asking them to also start counting lane violations. So on one hand, yeah, he's breaking the rules every single time he shoots free throws, and that's weird. It is very strange that the league has just turned a complete blind eye, with the exception of, I would say, less than 10 actually called violations over the last handful of seasons, over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free throw attempts by Giannis. And so that's definitely strange, but here's where I land. I'm okay with this just being a thing. I don't think necessarily that every official needs to count the 10 seconds every time someone's at the free throw line, because 99% of the time it doesn't matter. And I'm also okay with opposing fans like having a home court advantage and counting out till 10 seconds. The Nets did this when they lost to Milwaukee in the series where Kevin Durant's foot was on the line in Game 7. They put it on the Jumbotron and were counting how many seconds it was taking him to shoot free throws. The NBA actually made them get rid of that. They won't enforce the rule, but they made the Nets get rid of the Jumbotron counting thing. So I'm okay with where things are right now. If occasionally you want to call Giannis for 10 seconds just so he knows that it is a possibility, and then he just says screw it anyway and is just being stubborn about it and sticks with his normal free throw routine, that's fine. It also allows the fans to get into it. I think it's a cool kind of wrinkle when you are hosting the Bucks and you have Giannis at home. And if the Bucks are annoyed by the fact that fans are counting out, or they're annoyed by the fact that he's missing free throws because maybe he feels rushed, okay, he has plenty of opportunity in the offseason to change his free throw routine, grab the ball, take one dribble. It'll take you like 5 seconds and you won't even be remotely close, and this won't be an issue. So where I land with this is, 1, Giannis is breaking the rules every single time that he shoots a free throw. 2, the opposing announcers should not be out loud counting and or having a stopwatch out on the broadcast when Giannis takes free throws. That to me is weird. 3, it should still be a thing. It's fine. It's not something that refs need to count for every time. They don't need to call every lane violation. We have all just agreed that this is a thing. 4, it makes things cooler at home when you are hosting Giannis. And 5, take less time to shoot free throws, my guy. It does not take 12 seconds. This should not be a thing. And that's the bottom line, is you can be annoyed that Giannis is breaking the rules. You can be annoyed that the officials aren't enforcing it, depending on which side you're on. You could be a Bucks fan and be saying, this doesn't impact the game. It's an extra 2 seconds 12 times a game. It's literally less than 30 seconds of time. It's not that big of a deal. The bottom line is, the one that should be making changes is not the league in terms of enforcing it. It is Giannis. Giannis should be changing his free throw routine. It can't be that difficult. It's not like we're talking about someone that's shooting 90% from the line with this free throw routine. There are plenty of improvements to be made with the way that he shoots free throws, and speeding things up a little bit would probably help. And at the end of the day, it's just funny to think about all these different little rules and things that we see broken on a nightly basis that really go completely uncalled. It seems like you guys enjoy those kinds of videos as well, so this was just a super fun one to talk about.